The government has been very forward-looking and has been, responsive to trade. And if you see, our entire economy has been, mostly focused on domestic consumption. Exports have had a beating because of our, situation, the political situation. I do expect certain measures, customs especially, I expect changes to be done. We have multiple rates. I expect that, there would be fewer rates. There could be rate rationalization. Recently for GST, we had a rate rationalization where, it was brought to two rates, 5 and 18% mostly. Budget now is not so important from a GST perspective, but it's more important from an income tax perspective as well as from a customs perspective. The decisions that were taken in the GST Council meeting, there were changes required to be made in the law. So I think those will be implemented in the law.
So beyond GST, are there any indirect tax or customs duty measures you expect the government to use to support domestic manufacturing and exports?
I do expect. The government has been very forward-looking and has been, responsive to trade. And if you see, our entire economy has been, mostly focused on domestic consumption. Yes, exports have had a beating because of our, situation, the political situation. But I do expect certain measures, customs especially, I expect changes to be done. We have multiple rates. I expect that, there would be fewer rates. There could be rate rationalization. Recently for GST, we had a rate rationalization where, it was brought to two rates, 5 and 18% mostly. So I do believe that there will be some measures. There could also be certain, programs that could be introduced to help domestic manufacturing. Now, specifics we'll have to wait for on 1st of Feb what gets announced.
All right. Ma'am, from an indirect tax perspective, what are the key GST-related expectations the industry expects?
So I think the GST Council meets on a regular basis. So the budget, now is not so important from a GST perspective, but it's more important from an income tax perspective as well as from a customs perspective. From a GST perspective, specifically in the budget, there are certain changes that were announced by the GST Council. This was a concept regarding intermediary, and then there was another concept, this is regarding post-sale discounts. So I think the decisions that were taken in the GST Council meeting, there were changes required to be made in the law. So I think those will be implemented in the law. So those, changes in the provisions, that should happen at the time of the budget.
All right. Ma'am, do you see scope for further GST rate rationalization, and what impact could it have on consumption and inflation?
So I think we've just recently had the rate rationalization, which happened, in September, and I'm not expecting that to happen, very soon. Because now we have 5 and 18%. These are the two broad buckets, and of course we have 40%, which is for certain, products. But most of them are in the 5 and 18%. I'm not expecting, because 5 is essentially for essential goods and 18 is for other non-essential, and 40 is essentially for luxury products or sin products as they're called. So it's in that range. So as of now, I don't expect any further rate rationalization to be undertaken by the government at this point. Maybe at a subsequent maybe time, then there could be some rate, but at this point, I don't expect.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, another question. So there are several sectors which have been seeking relief on inverted duty structures.
Mm.
How likely is it that the budget addresses this issue?
I'm hoping that budget can address this issue. There are certain sectors, pharma, agriculture, where there is this acute issue. What has happened is the output gets taxed at a lower rate, but the inputs get taxed at a higher rate, and which leads to increase in costs. So the reduced rate, the output rate, doesn't really have the necessary effect. So I'm hoping that there would be certain measures taken to rectify this. I'm hoping that the budget is able to address it. If not the budget, then at least hopefully soon.
All right. So here we are at our
Mm.
last question.
Mm.
What changes you expect in GST compliance and litigation management
Mm.
to improve ease of doing business?
I think the main area where taxpayers face a challenge uh, has been of late registration. Some measures were introduced recently to help on this easier registration, but I also understand the tax authorities, they need to be careful that we don't have fraudulent invoices, fraudulent taxpayers. So those aspects need to be taken care of. The main area is tribunals which were to be set up, litigation, dispute resolution, that needs to be firmed up. Though there has been progress in this area, we still need to see it actually take effect. The government is working towards it. I think that is happening. I think that's one part. So the one issue is registration, another is dispute resolution. Notices that are being issued specifically on reconciliation. There are several notices that are issued. So somewhere, if those could be reduced, or some kind of a logic be built in, so that there aren't as many notices. The other area where I would think is there is a credit is not allowed on capital goods, or refund is not allowed on for exporters for capital goods. So they should allow for that. Then on a reverse charge mechanism, tax, the GST needs to be paid in cash. We should be allowed to use credit to pay that. This would help with the cash flow situation of a taxpayer. So yes, these are few of the areas where I think it would be helpful if the government was to consider these.